Hi everyone, and welcome back to this playlist where I'm trying to explain first of all to myself and to you all, how can we try to mock up an orchestral track, right? This is the second part. I call it advanced orchestral mockup. I don't know if it is advanced for you in the same way that it is advanced for me. The main goal of mockup is be realistic, right? I mean, whatever that means, like you have to cheat in many ways. Samples are just samples. I mean, they may be really excellent, but they're not a real acoustic instrument, right? So you can listen to many mockups orchestral mockups track here on YouTube. They're made good in orchestration or use, I don't know, expensive or really recent sample libraries, but you know, you can tell very well in some cases, I mean, it's a fake sound. You can understand that it's computer playing, not a live orchestra, right? So you have to cheat, you have to learn, I have to cheat how we can arrange the timbre of our samples and how we can tweak the overall sound in our context, and that's extremely important. Third, you have to have a good experience, I mean, in listening to classical music, and you have to know how an orchestra works, right? How it plays. Just by doing that, just by listening carefully to classical orchestral music, you can understand how to treat and manage your sound, your libraries, your samples, right? And last but not least, some of these main techniques will fit well not only for orchestral purposes, but I think pretty much for every kind of mock-up project, or even not for mock-ups, but who knows, who can tell, for your original tracks, right? So let's dive straight in. So we're gonna talk about layers today, right? For instance, this melody is the same of this one, right? I played this melody and then I have layered it. I mean, I have copied it in another track using another kind of library. The first track here is played by this violins multi, which are trill shorts by orchestral tool, and the second track is from Cinematic Studio Solo String. Why you want to do that? Well, obviously the main goal is to be realistic, right? So you want to try to reach the most compelling sound. So you want to copy it, exactly the same melody to another track and use another library. Then you can blend, tweaking the volume, you can blend the balancing, the mixing between the two of them. And I want to try to explain to you a really important topic here. 2 plus 2 is never equal 4. What I mean by that? Okay, I'm trying to explain to you with the right words, if I can. If you have a sample library which presents to you the sound of 2 violins, and you wanna layer it with another sample library which presents to you the sound of other 2 violins, you have here in the first sample library the sound of 2 violins, and here in the sample library, in the second sample library, the sound of 2 violins. I never have the sound here or in general the sound of 4 violins. You will get an increasing amount of volume in the body of the sound, but not in the timbre, because you have to understand that when a factory, a sample library factory is want to record some instrument, let's say two violins, you have the sound of two violins, the sound coming out from the body of these instruments, the sound coming to you from reflection, from the ambient, from the room. So here you have the sound of two violins. If you have here two violins and here two violins, you would never get the sound of four violins. So this is why 2 plus 2 is never 4. Please don't worry about layering, about adding sample libraries, about layering, I don't know, 4 cellos with 10 cellos. Imagine that you will get at the end the 14 cellos, because it is not true. So, for instance, you have here this melody from the Last of Mohicans theme. Played by Cinematic Studio solo string. But I have layered it with this one, which is from Orchestral Tool, and it's pretty much comic and weird if you listen it by its own. Right. It's just stupid, I mean. But in the context, I mean, together, they better slur together, they better blend together. So I mean, you have to think about the final result, right? Don't get surprised if you hear a weird or comic sound when you solo it. If it works in context, well, it's okay, don't worry. Even weird sounds on their own can layer very, very well together. Don't get obsessed by hard quantize everything. An orchestral track would present to you notes and passages and parts and whatever, which is played by human. And human, remember that, human are not used to quantize. Probably in pop music, probably in rap, in trap and whatever, but not in orchestral classical film music. So if you watch here, I've used a pretty much slow quantization strength, 38. Second point here, speaking about humanized rhythm, is, at least that's my tip, record your playing sometimes instead of programming inside here, of programming the MIDI notes. So in that way, if you record what you're playing, you're pretty much sure that every note you play is not quantized, not strictly forced to be quantized, and you will enhance the value of your project by giving to the listener the feeling of something much more human, much more interesting and fluid and flawlessly, naturally played right. Sometimes you have to tweak this pre-delay here, at least that's here in Logic, but you can have it anywhere in your DAW. So please take care of this parameter here, because otherwise you would not follow very well your main tempo, your main BPM. I probably have to add some more delay, I don't know. So this is, another parameter regarding rhythm and tempo, which you have to keep in mind. If you play something here on your keyboard, you have to remember that you're playing a piano keyboard, a MIDI, master MIDI keyboard. But if you then are loading up in your sample library, in your track, a sample library which presents I don't know, like in this case, 6 French horn, you're not playing a piano. Playing chords, you will never have 3 or 6 or whatever number is horns play together in the right millisecond, attacking the right millisecond, right? So you better have to train your finger in your keyboard and try to play some arpeggio and not a full strength, full solid chord here. Let's have a listen just a moment. Solid, but not natural. More natural, even too much natural. First one. I think the best one is here, this one. This is natural. I mean much more natural compared to the first one. And last but not least, in many cases you have to tweak this tempo line here just to fake and cheat a more fluid and natural playing of the whole orchestra with some sort of tempo swell, retardando or accelerando. So you better try to take confidence with these tweakings in the tempo master line here. The last point here is idiomatically writing. So you have to compose something for violin. You have to know the violin. You have to compose something for, I know, trombones. You have to know how trombones players play. The most important thing for wind instruments, for woodwinds or brass, for instance, is to leave breath. Because, you know, again, brass players or woodwinds players, they have to breathe. I just played every note of these French horns with no pauses, with no breath. Leave some breath in the right place. I mean, this would be filled with a more natural and fluid playing. So anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much it for this advanced orchestral mocking up video. Very advanced orchestral mocking up and a really very advanced orchestral mocking up tutorial are coming up next. My warm thanks to you all to follow my effort here today. See you next time. Take care.